in the PV Narasimha Rao case where, MPs and MLAs were given particular immunity if they had casted a vote or given a speech after taking a bribe. However, the Supreme Court has clarified that the offence of bribery, starts and ends when a bribe is actually taken, and that's exactly why no kind of immunity can be granted to any kind of MP or a MLA if at all they take a bribe and cast a vote or give a speech in the Parliament of India. So that is a big Parliament or any kind of a house, legislative house, is what the Supreme Court has gone on to say. So big judgment coming in the immunity that until now the MPs and MLAs enjoyed when it comes to bribery for casting a vote or giving a speech in the Parliament or in any kind of a legislative house is now completely gone. The Supreme Court goes on to say that it's an agnostic offence, and that's the reason why no kind of immunity can be actually granted.
Right, and just for the better perspective of our viewers, Ananya, could you take us back to the 1998's verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case?
Well, definitely. The 1998 verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case was a 3-2 verdict that was given by, in fact, the Supreme Court, where, it was said that the parliamentarians are immune when it comes to taking a bribe for giving, for giving a speech or casting a vote in the House. Is what that judgment had said, and challenging that particular judgment, appeal was made here in the Supreme Court of India. First, 3 judges bench of the Supreme Court, and then 7 judges bench of the topmost of the country has now very clearly and categorically in a unanimous verdict has stated that no kind of immunity can be enjoyed when it comes to, in fact, an offence of bribery.
Big breaking news now coming in. Well, we are learning that unanimous verdict by 7-judge bench on bribes for vote case is out. Supreme Court has in fact overruled the 1998 verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case. The apex court was deciding if lawmakers have immunity from prosecution for taking bribe to make speech, cast vote in house, whether legal immunity enjoyed by legislator under Article 105 and 194 protects them from prosecution for taking bribes or not. We have CNN News 18's legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar joining us on the broadcast. Ananya, please help us put that into perspective for our viewers.
Well, definitely, this is a very crucial verdict that is now coming from the topmost of the country. Because there was Sheeta Soren, who was a member of the JNM, who had, in fact, now the Supreme Court. The matter had travelled from the legal bench to finally in this bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Jaishankar. Now, when categorically starts to be clarified that no kind of immunity is enjoyed by any parliamentarian when it comes to taking bribes for giving a vote in the Parliament, in the House, or taking a bribe for giving a speech in the House. So that is the immunity that existed. The 1998 judgment in the PV Narasimha Rao case does not exist now. Is what the Supreme Court is very categorically stated, very clearly putting down and very clearly saying that MPs and MLAs can't claim immunity from prosecution on charges of bribery in connection with a vote for speech in the Legislative House. They also go to say that bribery is not rendered under Article 105 Part 2 or 194 of the Constitution of India. Bribery erodes probity in the public life, and the offence of bribery is agnostic, and it does not matter whether the vote is cast in a certain direction or not cast at all. Bribery is complete when bribe is accepted is what the Chief Justice of India has said. The 7-judge bench has said it is very unanimous verdict. No defense is there, and very clearly and categorically that judgment of 1998 of framing as around as we set out. If it all from now on, any kind of a parliamentary right.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post, and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Tonight we start with the Maldives. President Mohamed Muizzu is not backing down from his India out pitch. He is expanding it. Reports say his military has seized an Indian fishing boat. Should we see this as a routine maritime brush, or is there a political message? Also, India's foreign minister has responded to Muizzu's bully comment. He says, does a bully give $4.5 billion in aid? We'll decode what India's Maldives strategy is. In Germany, a major embarrassment for the government. Their plans for the Ukraine war have leaked. We'll tell you what the plan says. In Pakistan, a new Prime Minister has taken charge. What are the challenges awaiting Shehbaz Sharif? In India, the rape of a Brazilian tourist has shocked the nation. In the Gaza war, Netanyahu's team appears divided. A war cabinet member is on an unapproved foreign visit to the US. And today is World Obesity Day. It's a condition that is affecting more than 1 billion people. We'll tell you what's causing it. All this and more lined up. First, the headlines. Oil prices remain steady a day after OPEC Plus cut output. On Sunday, the group led by Saudi Arabia and Russia extended their voluntary output cuts into the second quarter. The move aims to allay market fears amid global economic turmoil. In India, opposition launches a personal attack on Prime Minister Modi. Lalu Prasad Yadav takes pot shots at the PM for being single. Prime Minister Modi responds as the whole country is his family. The ruling BJP unveils Modi Ka Parivar or Prime Minister Modi's family campaign. Top leaders like Amit Shah and JP Nadda added to their names on X. China kicks off its largest political event of the year in Beijing. Population and property crises take center stage at the annual meeting. Breaking with decades-old tradition, China's Premier Li Qiang will not hold a press conference. The two-sessions conclave will last until Sunday. Poland wants European Union to sanction food imports from Russia and Belarus. This is to counter bloc-wide protests by farmers. Polish Prime Minister refuses to rule out a ban. Protesting farmers say they're facing unfair competition from non-EU nations. Germany braces for major travel disruption. From Thursday, Lufthansa ground staff will be on a two-day strike. Train drivers will also join them. Germany is Europe's largest economy. In recent months, it has been hit by a spate of strikes over pay and better working conditions. And the Sudan sets condition for African Union's mediation. Its military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, wants its membership to be restored. After the military coup in October 2021, the AU had suspended Sudan's membership, demanding a return to civilian power. It's a new week, but the same old story in the Maldives. More moves against India. It's a crisis that refuses to die down. First, Indian soldiers were asked to leave the Maldives. Then the president cozied up to China. And now an Indian vessel has been seized. It's a fishing boat. We don't have confirmation from either government on this, but here's what local reports say. The Indian boat was near Ha Alif Kela. It's an island in northern Maldives, just 400 kilometers from the Indian state of Kerala. And why was it seized? Because the boat was reportedly fishing inside the Maldivian EEZ. Now, EEZ is Exclusive Economic Zone. Think of it as extended territorial waters. Only you can use the resources inside your EEZ, which is why the Indian boat was seized, because it was inside the Maldivian EEZ. Now, we've seen such incidents before. There's no line or border on the high seas, so fishermen keep crossing over by mistake. Just look at India and Sri Lanka. In 2023, Colombo arrested 240 Indian fishermen. They also seized 35 trawlers. So such incidents are not unheard of. In fact, they're pretty common. But this one, with the Maldives, has more background. Last month, there was a marine standoff. Male accused the Indian Coast Guard of boarding 3 Maldivian vessels. Again, fishing boats. They said the boats were inside Maldivian EEZ, yet India boarded them. So Male sought an explanation. And what did India say? Nothing in public. So my point is, this has been brewing for a while. Chances are it will complicate matters, which brings us to the larger question here. Can India and the Maldives work together again? New Delhi is doing everything it can, it seems. President Mohamed Muizzu wanted Indian soldiers to leave the Maldives. Well, they're leaving. The first batch of civilians has already reached the Maldives. They will soon replace the soldiers. Muizzu also decided to visit China before India, which is a snub because Maldivian presidents usually visit India first. This one chose to go to China. Yet India has handled things maturely. No emotional outbursts, no sharp criticism, and no big brother attitude. Instead of attacking Male, India has defended itself, its own track record in the region. Let me take you back to January. President Muizzu had just returned from China. He said he wouldn't let anyone bully the Maldives. Now, Muizzu did not name any country, but the reference was obvious. Muizzu was talking about India. At that point, New Delhi did not say anything, but this week, Foreign Minister Jaishankar gave a response. The question was put to him. And this was the question. Do neighbours perceive India as a bully? Listen to his response.
When you say India is perceived as a big bully, you know, big bullies don't provide $4.5 billion when the neighbours are in trouble. Big bullies don't supply vaccines to other countries when COVID is on, or make exceptions to their own rules to respond to food demands or fuel demands or fertilizer demands because some war in some other part of the world has complicated their lives.
Hard to argue with that. You see, diplomatic relations are a lot like human relations. You can't force someone to be your friend. You can't force someone to like you. All you can do is put in the effort, like doing nice things or helping out during crises or being more understanding. The rest is up to the other side. And that's where Muizzu is not doing his part. Asking Indian soldiers to leave is one thing, but picking a fight with India is a whole different ballgame. Just think about it. Muizzu has already gotten what he wanted. The Indian soldiers are heading out. So why poke New Delhi again? Why seize Indian fishing boats? It raises questions about Muizzu's long-term strategy. Does he want a working relationship with India or not? Does he want to be a Chinese ally at India's doorstep? Well, New Delhi is not waiting to find out. This week, a new naval base is being commissioned. It's called INS Jatayu. And where it's located? On Lakshadweep's Minicoy Island, just 100 kilometers from the Maldives. So India is ready for all eventualities, to repair and move forward as friends or to live in forever suspicion. It's now President Muizzu's turn to make his intentions clear. In Europe, a military leak has caused a political storm. At the receiving end is Germany. It has been hacked. Its blueprint for the Ukraine war has been leaked, and this has put Berlin in a spot. You see, Germany was anyway seen as a reluctant partner. Its role in the war has been questioned throughout in the Ukraine war. And with this leak, its position has become even more difficult. Its allies are raising questions and wondering if Germany can be trusted anymore. So what is this leak? And what does it reveal about Germany? Also, how did these top secret details come out? They leaked because German officials broke some basic rules. They discussed war plans on an unsecured phone line. These were German military officials. They made a grave blunder, and it appears that Russia intercepted this call. It managed to make an audio recording. Over the weekend, Russia Today leaked this recording, and now it's being shared on social media. We have a clip. Listen to this.
Aber zum Beispiel, wie das angebaut aussieht am Tornado, was kann der Taurus, wie wird er eingesetzt, aber natürlich spukt bei ihm immer noch im Hinterkopf.
So what were the Germans discussing? Well, they were talking about arming Ukraine, about the possibility of giving it some powerful missiles like the Taurus. The Taurus is a cruise missile, one of the best that Germany has. The missile is usually fired through a fighter jet. It travels almost at the speed of sound. That's over 1,000 kilometers per hour. It can strike targets some 500 kilometers away. The Taurus can fly low at an altitude of just 35 meters, so it's extremely tough for a radar to catch it. Now, Kiev has been asking for this missile for a long time, but the German Chancellor has been reluctant.
A weapon which isn't even the most powerful one. A HIMARS rocket launcher achieves a lot more than a Taurus, but which has a 500-kilometer range and which, if used wrongly, can reach a concrete target somewhere in Moscow.
He doesn't sound keen to give the Taurus. But could that stand change? I ask because Ukraine is increasingly looking more vulnerable, low on weapons and morale. America's latest aid package has been stuck for months, and Europe has been trying to step up to fill the gap left by the Americans. So Olaf Scholz may be forced to rethink, and that was the backdrop of this phone conversation. German generals were discussing war scenarios. What if Ukraine had the Taurus missile? Which targets would they hit? And they came up with some ideas. One of the potential targets was the Kerch Bridge. It connects Russia to Crimea. This is what the German generals were discussing on an unsecured phone line. Now that conversation has been leaked and Moscow is up in arms. Today, Russia summoned the German ambassador and registered an official protest. Russia says Germany wants to enter this war and claims that this audio leak is proof.
Here we have to find out whether the Bundeswehr is doing this on its own initiative. Then the question is, how controllable is the Bundeswehr? And how much does Scholz control the situation? Or is it part of German government policy of Germany? Both are very bad. Both once again emphasize the direct involvement of the countries of the collective West in the conflict around Ukraine.
Russia says Olaf Scholz has lost control of his forces. They're making plans without his knowledge, and Moscow's statement was carefully crafted. It clearly defines the Russian red lines. It tells Berlin that arming Ukraine with long-range missiles would amount to direct intervention in the war. If they give the missiles to Ukraine, it means Germany is entering the war. So what is Germany's response? It's in damage control mode. It accuses Russia of information warfare.
What has been reported there is a very serious matter, and therefore this will be investigated very carefully, very intensively and very quickly. That's necessary.
The incident is clearly more than just the interception and the publication of a conversation within the Air Force. It is part of an information war that Putin is waging. There is no doubt about that.
This is a messy situation for Olaf Scholz. He took power in 2021. Since then, he has been on the back foot. Under his leadership, Germany's economy has been pushed towards a recession. His coalition partners are unhappy with him. Differences over policy have led to divisions. Plus, Scholz has been locking horns with Europe, mostly over the military aid to Ukraine. Now, this leak only makes his life more difficult. It shows Germany as the weak link in the Western alliance and Scholz on shaky ground. Russia is capitalizing on this weakness. Pakistan finally has a prime minister. He is a Sharif, but not Nawaz. His younger brother, Shehbaz. Shehbaz Sharif has got the post, that too without much drama. Pakistan's parliament convened on Sunday to elect the next prime minister. Some 336 lawmakers were eligible to vote. 201 of them voted for Shehbaz Sharif. Only 92 voted for Imran Khan's candidate, so smooth sailing. Earlier today, Shehbaz Sharif was sworn in as the Prime Minister. It's his second stint as Pakistan's leader. The first was from 2022 to 2023. Now, Shehbaz is not the charismatic kind. He was warming the Prime Minister's chair for his elder brother Nawaz Sharif. But now he finds himself on it again. The question is, what are his plans for Pakistan? His first speech offered some clues. Shehbaz Sharif talked about freeing Kashmir. Listen to this.
आए हम आज एक सब यकजान दो कालिब हो जाएं। कश्मीर में जो बदतरीन जुल्म ढाए जा रहे हैं उनके ऊपर पाकिस्तान न सिर्फ अपना असूली मौक़िफ़ लेके आए बल्कि ये ऐवान आज एक करारदाद पास करे शदीद मज़म्मत की और कश्मीरियों और फ़लस्तीनियों की.
I guess some things never change. Kashmir is an obsession for Pakistan's leaders and Shehbaz Sharif is no different. But his latest statement is not some clarion call. It's the old and dusty army script. So what should India expect from him? At this point, nothing much. Both Shehbaz Sharif and the Pakistani army have a lot on their plate. A nose-diving economy, a rebellious Imran Khan and homegrown terror groups. So focusing on India will be tough. Nawaz Sharif did talk about resetting relations with New Delhi, but that was before the election. A lot has changed since then. The Sharifs have lost a lot of political capital. The army has lost face. So an outreach to India looks very unlikely at this point. Instead, Shehbaz Sharif is focusing on the West. He is promising to repair relations with the US and Europe.
अमेरिका के साथ हमें अपने तारीखी ताल्लुकात को पहले रिपेयर करना है और फिर इस्तवार करना है और फिर तजारती दिफाई और माशी और सफारती ताल्लुकात को बेहतर लाना है. यूरोपियन यूनियन और खलीजी तावन काउंसिल के साथ हम रिश्ते मजबूत करेंगे.
It's clear why. Pakistan needs more help from the Western institutions, like the IMF or the International Monetary Fund. So he's cozying up to the US. Last year, he secured an IMF loan worth $3 billion, but chances are he will need another one. There is talk of a $6 billion IMF bailout. The US and its allies may help Shehbaz Sharif get that money, but even with it, things won't be easy. You see, Pakistan's inflation is almost 24%. They have a lot of bills to pay in the next financial year. How much? Around $25 billion. So ideally, Pakistan needs to implement a lot of reforms, what experts call the bitter pill. But for that, you need to be popular. You have to have a large mandate. Shehbaz and company do not have that. They're being propped up by a reluctant ally, the Pakistan People's Party of the Bhutto Zardaris. So will they risk unpopular reforms, or will they stick to the status quo? That's the biggest thing to watch out for. As for India, there's nothing much to do. We are heading into another election soon. Plus, Pakistan is not really priority like before. Earlier, we would see Pakistan feature prominently in Indian campaigns. There was talk of the Pakistan question. But that's not the case anymore. The new focus is on other partners and rivals like the Quad or the G20 or China and Canada. So don't expect India to rush for a reset either. New Delhi will probably observe how things develop across the border, what the new government is up to, what it says and does, and then react accordingly. Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar hinted at this recently.
Our problem in the neighborhood, very honestly, is in respect of one country. And in diplomacy, you always hold out hopes that, yes, okay, keep at it, and who knows one day, what the future holds.
Clearly interesting times ahead, also challenging times if you're Shehbaz Sharif. He is known to be the logistics man in Pakistan, an able administrator. But he is hamstrung by multiple challenges: a weak mandate, a lack of popularity, a weakened army, and an immensely popular rival. So his appointment as Prime Minister is far from a new beginning. It's old wine in an even older bottle. Our next story is about Japan. Last month, the country slipped into recession. Japan fell behind Germany and fell from the 3rd to the 4th spot in the global GDP rankings, meaning Japan is now the 4th largest economy in the world. Germany, which is also on the brink of recession, has taken the 3rd spot. So Japan's economy is shrinking. But Japan's stock markets are soaring. It's quite a contrast. Japan's Nikkei is smashing records. For the first time in its history, the index has crossed the 40,000 mark, 40,000. Their last peak was some 35 years back in 1989. That's when Japan's markets touched a high. Their last all-time high was around 39,000. So it's taken them 35 years to enter a bull run. But why now? What explains this surge when the economy is struggling? Why are the stocks soaring? Well, 3 things. 1, a rush of foreign investment. 2, better returns for shareholders. And 3, a weak yen. That's the Japanese currency. Let's try to understand this through the example of Toyota, the Japanese car maker. Last month, Toyota became Japan's most valued company. Do you know how much Toyota is worth? More than $300 billion. Its stock is in high demand. So the share price has jumped by 15% this year. And who is buying these Toyota shares? Mostly foreign investors. The company has been posting good numbers. It expects a solid jump in profits, a jump of some 65%. Also, sales have jumped. Toyota is in expansion mode. It is investing in emerging markets and in emerging technologies like electric vehicles. Last year, Japan's currency, the yen, fell. It slipped to a multi-decade low, and a recovery is nowhere in sight. And Toyota has benefited from this because exporting cars has become cheaper. And this is not a unique case. Toyota is not the only company that has benefited. The entire stock market in Japan has made gains. Foreign investors are pouring in big money. In January, they invested $14 billion into Japanese stocks. Japanese companies are reporting strong results. Their earnings rose by 45% in the last 3 months of 2023. Plus, marquee investors are turning to Japan. I'm talking about the likes of Warren Buffett. His company is buying more Japanese stocks. In 2020, he invested around $6 billion in Japan. Today, that number touched $17 billion, from $6 to $17 billion in 4 years. These are large investments, and they look set to continue. And it's not just Japanese companies that want to make the most of it. Japan's Prime Minister is also trying to ride this bull run.
It is encouraging to see the market's positive response to our efforts and the transformation of the Japanese economy. This year is a critical time for this trend to take root. The government is committed to achieving a virtuous cycle that includes structural wage increases.
So the soaring stock markets make for good headlines. But a strong stock market does not necessarily mean a strong economy. And Japan is the best example to understand that. Stock markets run on sentiment, on company results, on profits. And while investors and businesses are getting rich, the people of Japan are not. Inflation has been high and savings are going down. The household savings rate has turned negative in Japan. Factories in the country are also producing fewer goods because people are buying less. 4 days back, Tokyo released the latest numbers. Japan's factory output fell at its fastest pace in nearly 4 years. Japan also has the world's oldest population. This has serious repercussions on the economy. An aging population strains a country's finances. It shrinks the tax base and increases the expenses. At this rate, Japan will spend more on healthcare and pensions. So stocks are going up, the economy is shrinking, the Prime Minister needs to intervene. He has a narrow window of opportunity to reverse Japan's decline and revive its economy. He must act now. Without the right moves, the bull run in the Japanese market will be reduced to just a bubble. Vantage continues after a short break.
In the house, or in fact, a speak after taking a price.
All right, I think we lost connection with Ananya over there. But if we were to talk about this big breaking news coming in straight from the Apex Court is about the unanimous verdict by 7-judge bench on bribes for vote case. All right, we have Ananya back with us on the broadcast. Ananya, you were saying something over the Supreme Court's recent order. Would you like to read it again for our viewers?
Well, definitely. I was reading down the part and portions of the order that the Chief Justice of India himself read. When it has very, very categorically been stated that, the bribery is not rendered illegal under Article 195 over 19 of the Constitution. They also go on to say that bribery erodes the probity in public life and has now overruled the 1998 judgment in the PV Narasimha Rao case where, MPs and MLAs were given particular immunity if they had casted a vote or given a speech after taking a bribe. However, the Supreme Court has clarified that the offence of bribery, starts and ends when a bribe is actually taken, and that's exactly why no kind of immunity can be granted to any kind of MP or a MLA if at all they take a bribe and cast a vote or give a speech in the Parliament of India. So that is a big Parliament or any kind of a house, legislative house, is what the Supreme Court has gone on to say. So big judgment coming in. The immunity that until now the MPs and MLAs enjoyed when it comes to bribery for casting a vote or giving a speech in the Parliament or in any kind of a legislative house is now completely gone. The Supreme Court goes on to say that it's an agnostic offence and that's the reason why no kind of immunity can be actually granted.
Right, and just for the better perspective of our viewers, Ananya, could you take us back to the 1998's verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case?
Well, definitely. The 1998 verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case was a 3-2 verdict that was given by, in fact, the Supreme Court, where, it was said that the parliamentarians are immune when it comes to taking a bribe for giving, for giving a speech or casting a vote in the House. Is what that judgment had said, and challenging that particular judgment, appeal was made here in the Supreme Court of India first, 3 judges bench of the Supreme Court, and then 7 judges bench of the topmost court of the country has now very clearly and categorically in a unanimous verdict has stated that no kind of immunity can be enjoyed when it comes to, in fact, an offence of bribery.
Big breaking news now coming in. Well, we are learning that unanimous verdict by 7-judge bench on bribes for vote case is out. Supreme Court has in fact overruled the 1998 verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case. The apex court was deciding if lawmakers have immunity from prosecution for taking bribe to make speech, cast vote in House, whether legal immunity enjoyed by legislator under Article 105 and 194 protects them from prosecution for taking bribes or not. We have CNN News 18's legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar joining us on the broadcast. Ananya, please help us put that into perspective for our viewers.
Well, definitely, this is a very, very crucial verdict that is now coming from the top of the country. There was Sheeta Sorian, who was a member of the JMM, who had, in fact, lost the Supreme Court. The matter had travelled from the three-judge bench to finally within this bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Jaishankar. Now, when the categorically starts to be clarified that no kind of immunity is enjoyed by any parliamentarian when it comes to taking prize for giving a vote in the parliament, in the House, or taking a bribe for giving a speech in the House. So that is the immunity that existed. The 1998 judgment in the PV Narasimha did not exist now. Is what the Supreme Court is very, very categorically stated, very clearly putting down.
On Friday, a foreign tourist in India put up a video on Instagram. She was talking about her travels in India and she had bruises on her face. She had been gang raped by 7 men during her trip. This incident happened in the state of Jharkhand. Her husband, who was with her, was beaten up badly. The story led to a lot of outrage and condemnation. The authorities swung into action. 3 of the accused have been caught. 4 others are on the run. Now, this is not the first such incident in the country. Chances are it won't be the last. Every 18 minutes, a woman is raped in India. This is data from the government of India. And this incident has sparked a fierce debate on social media about women's safety and women tourists. Our next report has more.
5 years, 63 countries, 170,000 kilometers. This couple began their world tour half a decade ago. They boarded their bikes and never looked back. But their journey took a horrible turn last week. The woman and her husband were on a biking trip in India. They were travelling from West Bengal to Nepal. On their way, they stopped in Jharkhand. It was around 5 p.m, so they decided to spend the night there. They set up a temporary camp and were preparing to go to bed. That's when 7 men entered their tent. They beat the couple, they robbed them, they raped the woman and threatened to kill the duo. At around 11 p.m, the couple flagged down a patrol van. The patrolling team couldn't understand what they said, but they looked visibly injured, so the van took them for treatment. That's when the couple told the doctors about the rape, prompting the police to jump into action. 3 of those men have been arrested and 4 are still on the run. The woman is a dual national. The Brazilian embassy was informed, and so was the Spanish embassy, as the couple used Spanish passports to enter India. Over the weekend, the 28-year-old took to social media. She put up a video on her Instagram page. It was in Spanish. She talked about her ordeal. She showed the bruises on her face and how glad she was to be alive. Her husband posted a similar video. The videos are not on their page anymore, but it sparked a fierce debate. Is India safe for women tourists? Over the weekend, Indians and foreigners shared their stories. They all had one thing in common: how they faced sexual harassment or have been a witness to it. One such post got a response from the chief of India's National Commission for Women. Palki Sharma commented on the post. She questioned why the person didn't report it and asked them to not defame the whole country. But was the tweet defaming India? Or are these heinous incidents doing that? In 2023, a Korean vlogger was sexually harassed in Rajasthan. That same year, a Dutch tourist was molested and stabbed in Goa. In 2018, a British tourist was raped in Goa too. In 2016, an American woman alleged she was gang raped in a hotel in the national capital. In 2013, a Swiss tourist was gang raped by 6 men. They were later sentenced to life in prison. And it's not just foreign tourists. Indian women have faced the brunt as well. Every day, an average of 90 rapes are recorded. In 2013, the country amended its rape law. It broadened the definition. It brought in new punishments for sexual assault and stalking. Yet, it hasn't changed much on the ground. This latest incident could lead to more policing, more awareness, stronger condemnation, and more conversation both on social media and off it. But the fact of the matter is, every 18 minutes, a woman is raped in India. We will need much more than conversation and half-baked measures to deal with the issue.
This weekend, Gaza witnessed some unprecedented scenes. 3 US planes flew over the strip. Once they were close to the coastline, they airdropped bundles. Take a look at this. That was food and aid for the Gaza Strip, a total of 38,000 meals. Hardly enough for 1 million starving people. But it's a first for America. For the first time in about 5 months, the US is dropping aid into the Gaza Strip. President Joe Biden says it will be the first of many. But why now? Why after 5 months? It's because the sentiment is shifting. The Gaza war began on October 7th. It's been 150 days. 30,000 people have been killed. That's 1 out of every 75 people. Over 8,000 are missing, and Israel's strikes show no signs of ending. On Thursday, 112 people were killed. Why? Because they rushed towards an aid convoy. Israel says it was a stampede. That's how they died. Eyewitnesses say Israeli forces fired at these people. It's hard to establish the truth, but one thing is evident. This war cannot go on for much longer like this. Gaza is on the verge of famine, and if the world does not intervene, its people will starve to death.
The Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid. They must ensure humanitarian personnel, sites, and convoys are not targeted. And they must work to restore basic services and promote order in Gaza so more food, water, and fuel can reach those in need.
Israel has no excuses. That's what the US Vice President says. It's a rare rebuke. Israel, after all, is America's closest ally. They have supported them for 5 months. But now the Americans do not sound so enthusiastic. It's an election year in the US, after all, and the Democrats are losing support over this war. It's a big price to pay for an ally. Plus, their Western partners are calling for a ceasefire. Hence the changing tone in Washington. Kamala Harris will also have a meeting today with Benny Gantz, a senior member of the Israeli war cabinet. He's also Benjamin Netanyahu's main political rival. Polls suggest if elections were to be held today in Israel, Benny Gantz would win, not Netanyahu. He would beat Netanyahu. And right now he's in Washington, meeting the top leadership. The White House says it is a routine visit, but Israeli media says it happened without Netanyahu's permission. So chances are it's a signal. It's a sign to Netanyahu to slow down the military campaign. And it's not the only thing that the US is doing at the moment. This weekend, they tried to mediate a peace deal. The talks were held in Cairo. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of backdoor diplomacy, but the goal was simple, a pause in fighting. And who attended these talks? The Hamas was there. So was the US. A Qatari delegation was mediating, but the Israeli side was missing. Do you know why? Because they wanted some assurances from Hamas, assurances that they did not get. I'll tell you about that in a bit. But first, let's look at the peace deal. What do they want to achieve? The framework is quite simple. A 6-week pause in fighting, the release of Israeli hostages, the exchange of Palestinian prisoners, and aid moving into Gaza. But will they be able to strike this deal? On Saturday, US reports suggested that Israel had nearly accepted it. The source was an unnamed official. They said the ball was now in Hamas's court. On Sunday, they were supposed to meet in Cairo, but Israel did not show up on Sunday. It wanted an assurance about the fate of hostages. It wanted to know how many hostages are alive. Hamas could not offer that assurance, so the Israeli delegation backed out. Hamas, on the other hand, has set its own conditions, 3 of them. 1, a permanent ceasefire. 2, withdrawal of Israeli troops. And 3, the return of Gaza citizens to the north. Of course, Israel does not agree with much of it, which explains the meeting in Cairo.
Any flexibility that we show in the negotiation is out of concern for the blood of our people and to put an end to their big pains and the sacrifices. But this comes in parallel with full readiness to defend our people. Any threats of committing new massacres in Rafah reaffirms the nature of the enemy and its criminal army.
So does that mean that the ceasefire deal is dead? Well, not yet. Negotiations are still on. Regional powers are at it. The plan is to secure a truce by Ramadan, which is the holy month for Muslims. It starts next week. Will it bring peace to Gaza? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Back to India and a unique act of diplomatic outreach. The Indian subcontinent is the birthplace of 4 major religions: Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism and Buddhism. While 3 of them have their strongholds at home in India, one is revered in almost every corner of Asia. We're talking about Buddhism. It ties India with most Asian nations like Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Cambodia and Thailand. It links the people together spiritually, and the government of India knows this, which is why it has been championing Buddhist outreach. Indian relics of the Buddha are currently in Thailand. They reached the city of Chiang Mai today. It's part of a 26-day tour of Thailand, and the Thai people have been gathering in the thousands to pay their respects. Here's our report.
Buddhism is a religion based on the teachings of the Buddha. Siddhartha Gautama was once a prince, but he renounced his kingdom and became a philosopher. His life was spent in India, spreading wisdom. He attained enlightenment in what is today Bodh Gaya, becoming the Buddha. He also left Earth and the cycle of death and rebirth behind in India, in Kushinagar, in present-day Uttar Pradesh. When he died, his body didn't disappear completely. There are parts of him still on Earth, bone fragments that survived cremation. And a few have been discovered by archaeologists over time. Today, we call these bone fragments of the Buddha relics. India has 20 of them, and they are sacred to Buddhists everywhere, which is why India has been championing a diplomatic initiative. It is loaning out these relics to Buddhist nations so that their devotees can have a chance to pay their respects. 4 of India's 20 Buddha relics are in Thailand, to the great joy of thousands of Buddhists there. The relics arrived in Thailand's capital Bangkok last month, on the 22nd of February. They were received by Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin. The relics were then put on display in a special pavilion on the royal grounds next to the Bangkok Palace. Hundreds of thousands of devotees have been flocking there since to pay their respects. The Bangkok leg of the journey concluded yesterday. A crowd of almost 150,000 made their way to the pavilion to catch the last glimpse in Bangkok. The relics are still in Thailand, but they have been moved to Chiang Mai. They arrived there today, receiving a grand welcome. They will be on display in Chiang Mai till the 8th. After that, they will go to Ubon Ratchathani and then Krabi. They will return to India on the 19th of March, concluding an almost month-long tour. This outreach isn't just for Thai Buddhists. People from nearby nations like Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam have also been invited to see the relics. It is an initiative that brings the people of the region together and forges a greater bond with India. That's why these delicate relics are being sent to various Buddhist nations. Last year they were sent to Mongolia. Before that, they have toured Sri Lanka, South Korea and Singapore as well. Every time, they have drawn sizable crowds. The Buddhist outreach is both diplomatically and economically advantageous. Aside from forging closer people-to-people ties, it also reminds people of Buddhism's intrinsic ties to India. The Indian contingent travelling with the relics has also been setting up exhibits, showcasing the different pilgrimage sites. 3 of the 4 major Buddhist sites are in India. Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha attained enlightenment, is already a major draw. Kushinagar, where he passed away, is also a pilgrimage site. Then there is Sarnath, where he delivered his first sermon. All these sites are in India. The Relic Outreach program is a reminder of this. This way, the Buddhist ties may turn out to be a boost for tourism, and India's rich heritage may benefit people from around the world.
We know that the AI age has started. Well, so has the age of regulating it. And guess who's starting things off? India. The Indian government has issued an advisory for AI companies. We haven't seen the exact details, but 2 things stand out. Number 1, you need permission to roll out beta models. These are products still under development. Suppose you're making an AI platform, something like ChatGPT. Earlier, you could just release it on the internet. People could access it, use it, and point out your mistakes. But the government says not anymore. It wants tech firms to take permission first. Not for all AI models, though. This rule is largely for large AI models. If you are an artificial intelligence startup, it doesn't apply to you. Now the second thing, labeling. Artificial intelligence models must carry disclaimers. We know that they can be unreliable and inaccurate, so the government wants these companies to say that. Like the warning labels on cigarette boxes. Now, why is this advisory important? A, because it's a global first, the first country in the world to do this. Most countries agree that we need to regulate AI, but they don't know how to do it. So India has gone ahead and done it. And B, because it will have far-reaching implications on the AI landscape. Because most companies hate regulation. They think it slows down innovation. So the fear is, what if the same happens to India's AI industry? What if the rules scare away investors? What if it discourages talent? These are all genuine worries among industry leaders, so let's try and address them tonight. For starters, these are not rules yet. This is still an advisory by the Information Technology Ministry, meaning it's not legally binding, not yet. But for how much longer, we don't know. Usually, advisories tell you what a government is planning. If it's a suggestion today, it could be a rule tomorrow. Secondly, this is not about throttling artificial intelligence, it's about making it safer. Let me quote what the IT minister is saying. Public internet should not be conflated with a sandbox insofar as unlawful content is concerned. India's ambitions in AI and ensuring internet users get a safe and trusted internet are not binaries. That's what the minister said. What does it mean? You can have innovation and safety. You don't have to choose between them. Let me explain. India's IT rules apply to firms developing artificial intelligence models. And what do the rules say? You can't show content that can cause harm, that can trigger violence or worse. If you do, you can be sued. We saw an example recently. Google's AI model said Prime Minister Modi's policies were fascist. Clearly, it was false and triggering. The IT minister said it was a violation of India's IT rules. So technically, Google could have been sued. But this puts AI firms in a tough spot. Their models have to be tested in the real world. But if those models make errors, the company can be sued. So the government is suggesting a middle ground. Take our permission, label your models as possibly unreliable, then roll them out. But like I said, experts are still worried. The CEO of Abacus AI says, and I'm quoting, India just kissed its future goodbye. The creator of private LLM says this, what a way to put the brakes on AI in India, a sad day for progress. Are these concerns genuine? I'm afraid there isn't a yes or no answer. There is no question that regulation is needed. It is. AI cannot be the Wild West. So you had to start somewhere. In that sense, the advisory is a good start. It shows that the government is thinking about the problem. The only worry is, has it gone too far? We'll have to observe how this advisory is implemented, how the permissions are given, and also how the tech companies and investors respond to this move. Not on social media, but in reality. That will give us the full picture. But I will say this, in such issues, clarity always helps. You want the message to be crystal clear. In this case, it was not clear. When the news broke, the tech industry went into meltdown. They did not know what this advisory meant or how it would affect them. So the IT minister had to issue clarifications. He posted 2 separate messages on social media. Maybe that confusion could have been avoided. Having said that, let's not villainize regulation. I know it's a bad word in the free market dictionary, but it also keeps the internet safe. Our next story is from Haiti. The Caribbean island nation is in chaos. For days, Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, has been under attack. A gang leader called Barbecue is cooking up a storm there. He has directed various gangs to attack the government, Haiti's international airport, and even jails. Yesterday, 2 prisons were besieged. The guards eventually fled, and about 4,000 inmates were let loose. Haiti's government has declared a state of emergency. They're trying to bring order back to Port-au-Prince. But the gangs they face control about 80% of the capital. Our next report has the details.
The entire law and order mechanism seems to have broken down in Haiti. The country looks to be in the middle of a coup led by armed gangs. They say they want one thing: the ouster of Prime Minister Ariel Henry.
We are demanding that the police and the military take responsibility and arrest Ariel Henry. Men with weapons are not your enemy. Arrest Ariel Henry and you will see how these weapons are not to cause any harm. They are the symbol of our freedom.
That was gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, who also goes by the name Barbecue. He was once an elite police officer, and now he's become a spokesperson for the gangs of Haiti. The gangs seem to have come together. They're coordinating their attacks on the capital, Port-au-Prince. They've been besieging police stations, targeting Haiti's international airport. And yesterday, they conducted their boldest attack yet. They attacked 2 prisons and set the inmates free. One prison was in the capital, the National Penitentiary. The other jail was on the outskirts of Port-au-Prince. Combined, the prisons held about 5,000 prisoners. Most of them are now free. The attack on the National Penitentiary left some prisoners dead and many injured.
Oh, a lot of shooting. A lot of people died. A lot of deaths around the prison. All around the prison.
I received a bullet here and another a little higher up. I was hit yesterday at 9 p.m. I'm suffering.
About 100 chose to stay behind in the prison, but almost 4,000 escaped from this national penitentiary. It prompted the Haitian government to declare a state of emergency yesterday. The emergency will last till Tuesday. There's a curfew in place. The police are trying to bring back some order. They've reached out to the Haitian military for help, but the situation remains precarious. Now, you may wonder, what has led to this state of affairs? Why do the gangs want to get rid of Henry? Ariel Henry is both the Prime Minister and acting President of Haiti. The problem is, he was unelected. He was appointed Prime Minister by the former President, Jovenel Moïse. Moïse was assassinated 2 days after this appointment. Henry was supposed to hold elections, but he's been delaying them. And this is the justification the gangs are using for their violence. There's also another reason why the gangs are acting up. Last Thursday, Henry went to Kenya. He signed a deal with Kenyan President William Ruto. It will allow Kenya to send police officers to Haiti as the head of a multinational force. This force has been tasked by the UN to bring order to Haiti. And of course, this will affect the gangs. These gangs have overrun Port-au-Prince. They control 80% of the Haitian capital. the Kenya-led force will push back against them. To avoid this, the gangs are unleashing their fury. They hope to prevent Henri from bringing back law and order. Now it seems to have become a race between the Haitian PM and these gangs to see who can oust the other first.
Vantage continues after a short break.
Saying that MPs and PAs can't claim immunity from prosecution on charges of bribery in connection with a vote for speech in the Legislative House. They also go on to say that bribery is not rendered under Article 105 Part 2 or 194 of the Constitution of India. Bribery erodes probity in the public life, and the offence of bribery is agnostic, and it does not matter whether the vote is cast in a certain direction or not cast at all. Bribery is complete when price is accepted is what the Chief Justice of India has led. The 7-judge bench has said it is very unanimous verdict. No defense is there, and very clearly and categorically that judgment of 1998 of PV Narasimha Rao has been set out. If at all from now on, any kind of a parliamentary right to start the vote in the House, or in fact, a speech after taking a right.
All right, I think we lost connection with Ananya over there. But if we were to talk about this big breaking news coming in straight from the Apex Court is about the unanimous verdict by 7-judge bench on bribes for vote case. All right, we have Ananya back with us on the broadcast. Ananya, you were saying something over the Supreme Court's recent order. Would you like to read it again for our viewers?
Well, definitely. I was reading down the part and portions of the order that the Chief Justice of India itself read. When it has very, very categorically been stated that, the bribery is not rendered illegal under Article 195 or 196 of the Constitution. They also go on to say that bribery erodes the probity in public life and has now overruled the 1998 judgment in the PV Narasimha Rao case where, MPs and MLAs were given particular immunity if they had casted a vote or given a speech after taking a bribe. However, the Supreme Court has clarified that the offence of bribery, starts and ends when a bribe is actually taken, and that's exactly why no kind of immunity can be granted to any kind of MP or a MLA if at all they take a bribe and cast a vote or give a speech in the Parliament of India. So that is a big Parliament or any kind of a house, legislative house, is what the Supreme Court has gone on to say. So big judgment coming in. The immunity that until now the MPs and MLAs enjoyed when it comes to bribery for casting a vote or giving a speech in the Parliament or in any kind of a legislative house is now completely gone. The Supreme Court goes on to say that it's an agnostic offence, and that's the reason why no kind of immunity can be actually granted.
Right, and just for the better perspective of our viewers, Ananya, could you take us back to the 1998's verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case?
Well, definitely. The 1998 verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case was a 3-2 verdict that was given by, in fact, the Supreme Court, where, it was said that the parliamentarians are immune when it comes to taking a bribe for giving, for giving a speech or casting a vote in the House. Is what that judgment had said, and challenging that particular judgment, appeal was made here in the Supreme Court of India first, 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court, and then 7-judge bench of the topmost court of the country has now very clearly and categorically in a unanimous verdict has stated that no kind of immunity can be enjoyed when it comes to, in fact, an offence of bribery.
Big breaking news now coming in. Well, we are learning that unanimous verdict by 7-judge bench on bribes for vote case is out. Supreme Court has in fact overruled the 1998 verdict in the PV Narasimha Rao case. The Apex Court was deciding if lawmakers have immunity from prosecution for taking bribe to make speech, cast vote in House, whether legal immunity enjoyed by legislator under Article 105 and 194 protects them from prosecution for taking bribes or not. We have CNN News 18's legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar joining us on the broadcast.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In Wales, a shimmering curtain of northern lights lit up the night sky. In South Korea, crowds bid farewell to a giant panda before her return to China. And Hanoi becomes the world's most polluted city as smog blankets the streets. Finally, we're taking you back in history on this day. In 1789, the US Constitution went into effect. It became the governing law of the country. The Constitution was written in Philadelphia by delegates representing 12 states. It is one of the oldest constitutions in the world. We're leaving you on that note. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me Ayushman Singh Jamwa. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news coming in when it comes to the pro-Pakistan slogan controversy from the state of Karnataka. Now a major twist in the entire saga concerning pro-Pakistan slogans. The Pakistan Zindabad slogan war between the BJP and the Congress party in the state of Karnataka. Now 3 suspects have been arrested based on the forensic report of the alleged video where the supporters of Congress candidate Nasir Hussain allegedly shouted the slogans after he won the Rajya Sabha elections. Now the DCP of the Central Bengaluru City Police has said that the forensic report confirms that the slogans were raised, adding that the report corroborates witness statements. This comes after Nasir Hussain denied the charges and said that his supporters shouted Nasir Sahib Zindabad, Nasir Hussain Zindabad and Congress Party Zindabad slogans and not pro-Pakistan slogans. So that is the piece of breaking news that's coming in where this forensic report has been a major twister in this saga. I'm joined by my colleague Harish Upadhyay to get more details. Harish, over to you. The Congress Party has a lot to answer for now.
Absolutely, and the BJP is claiming credit for it. It's saying that it is the one which forced the state Congress government to go ahead and arrest these people. Remember earlier in the day, the BJP released a report from a private lab from one of the RSS affiliated organizations petition asking that video to be verified by this private lab. On the other hand, you have Home Minister G. Parmeshwara claiming that he's not aware of the arrest, and his reasoning was that they had given a free hand to the police to arrest anybody who's guilty if the report did mention that there were pro-Pakistan slogans. Now, 3 of them have been arrested. We'll have to see if any of them were direct members of the Congress party or whether just supporters and others who had come to the Vidhan Sabha.
Right, but Harish, at the same time, the Congress party is poking holes in the fact that you just pointed out that this was a report from a private lab. But at the same time, for a DCP of the Karnataka police to say that this confirms pro-Pakistan slogans, this does put them on the back foot.
Yes, but the DCP would have made these arrests based on the findings of the state government-owned FSL lab. That which hasn't been made public, but if you go by the statement of DCP Central of Bangalore Police, he's saying that all the 3 have been arrested based on the forensic science lab report, circumstantial evidence, eyewitness accounts, and other evidence. So clearly, there was a lot to suggest that there were pro-Pakistan slogans, and the police now confirming that they have evidence to prove that. Even as we speak, all the 3 have been produced before the magistrate in Koramangala and Bengaluru. We'll have to see if they will be given to police remand or if they'll be sent to judicial custody.
Right. Thank you, Harish, for getting us that piece of breaking news. So beyond the private report that the BJP has put forward, the DCP has also confirmed that there is enough circumstantial evidence to arrest the 3 suspects. Now, we'll have to wait and see whether these 3 suspects are linked to the Congress party directly, because at the end of the day, Nasir Hussain has made it very clear his supporters did not chant pro-Pakistan slogans, but the BJP also taking advantage of this fact with this report coming out saying that the Congress party has now been exposed. But shifting focus, ladies and gentlemen, another piece of breaking news that's coming in. Chaos erupted in the Punjab Assembly after Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann handed over a lock and key to the Assembly Speaker to keep opposition MLAs inside the House during the budget discussion. The Chief Minister and Leader of the Opposition, Pratap Singh Bajwa, had a heated exchange inside the Assembly. The Congress leader claimed that the Chief Minister used offensive remarks against opposition leaders, namely those from the Dalit community. Listen in.
चलो ऐ करो यही डिबेट करनी है बैठो बैठो जिथे झूठ होया टोक दियो जिथे झूठ होया टोक दियो हां ठेका ले रखे तुसी भारत दी राजनीति दा हां समगलरां मुख्यमंत्री साहब तुसी अपनी जारी रखो जी कहने असि कहा जा मटीरियल आ गया चुप कर जाओ हां मानयोग मुख्यमंत्री साहब हां बंदे पुत्रा ने तुसी गल करो हां माइंड योर लैंग्वेज माइंड योर लैंग्वेज माइंड योर लैंग्वेज
कि इन्होंने एक मेरे दलित कुलीग नूं मेरे एस्टीम्ड कुलीग नूं सर सुखविंदर सिंह कोटली साहब आदमपुर के साडे MLA मेरे सज्जे हथ खड़े ने उन्होंने जदों इन्हां दे एक MLA निहाल सिंह वाले हल्के तो बिलासपुर साहब गल कर रहे सी गवर्नर के एड्रैस से उदों इन्होंने मंग की भगवंत मान जी तुसी तुहाडी पार्टी ने तो तुसी वादा कीता सी असीं हाउस का बाइकआउट करके आए हैं ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਮਾਨ ਕੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸਤੀਫਾ ਲਿਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਮਾਨ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜੇਗਾ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਲੜੇਗਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਲੜਾਂਗਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਇਹ ਪੇਸ਼ਕਸ਼ ਹੈ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਹੈ
में हम तो अपनी नारेबाजी कर रहे हैं अपनी बात रख रहे हैं और हम बाहर नहीं आए लेकिन जब वो सारा हमारी समाज कौम का अपमान करेंगे तो कहने इनका दिमाग खराब हो गया है इनको जुत्ती संगाओ तो फिर ये बात ठीक नहीं है सीएम साहब के लिए हम कभी बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे सीएम साहब आपको कभी दलित समाज कभी माफ नहीं करेगा.
And I'm joined by my colleague Aman Bharadwaj on the broadcast. So Aman, alliance in Delhi but a showdown between the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress in the state of Punjab. How did all of this erupt?
See, it began by the several issues that are related to Punjab, because in back days there were major concerns that are related to Congress also, and there were many questions that Congress raised to Aam Aadmi Party government, but Vidhan Sabha was one of the major place, concerned place for the perfect debate on Punjab's issue. But that doesn't seem to be concluding today, and from 1st of March, because on day one only, Congress demanded for discussion on several issues of Punjab, including farming or the revenue generating or the budget that has to be allocated to different departments of Punjab. But that doesn't seem to be concluded, and issues seems to be demotivated by the government or the government minister or the chief minister. So because of that, the heated arguments took place today, where CM went on to statements that the alliance in Kurukshetra or Delhi or other states, that Congress and Aam Aadmi Party is fighting together in a collision or in a coordination, can be brought down. So that was the main conclusion of today's heated argument, and several personal statements and defamatory statements can say made to each other, where CM Bhagwant Mann went on saying that the Congress leaders, that the statements they are making should be locked inside Vidhan Sabha, because they are not ready for any democratic discussions that to be took place in Vidhan Sabha. One of the leaders who belongs from SC category was made on defamatory remarks. That was a major allegation against the CM. And also Pratap Singh Bajwa, who is the leader of opposition, went on saying that he'll fight against Bhagwant Mann from any seat in Punjab. So that all went on the heat today, the arguments which we saw in Vidhan Sabha, and it concluded in a way where Bhagwant Mann said that they are ready for not fighting elections together in Haryana or other state or Delhi, that the behavior of the Congress leader in Punjab seems to be in the aggression that was shown to Bhagwant Mann.
Right, so those visuals on your screen, you can see a very aggressive Bhagwant Mann facing off with Pratap Singh Bajwa and other Congress MLAs. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, the Congress party state unit has made this pitch time and again that there can't be any alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party. But will the state unit now impress upon the High Command in Delhi that there should be no alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party, given the fact this level of acrimony exists in the state of Punjab, where Congress MLAs are even saying that Bhagwant Mann has insulted their Dalit MLAs? We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But shifting focus to some more breaking news now coming in.